Okay, the next battle in our wander through Hoplite is Tanagra. And what we have here is our classical Athenian hoplites versus Spartan allied hoplites. Sparta doesn't have that many troops on the board, they just have one counter. Only that one counts as a special Spartan counter. A red triangle, I guess. That's what the triangle means. I haven't tried to look that up. What's special about this one? Well, one, like many battles, there's almost nothing known about it. You have Thucydides, and that's pretty much, a few lines of him, and that's pretty much it. The Spartans start with the initiative, so I've pulled their counter out. Our points, they have a smaller army to begin with, 35 to 45 route points for the Athenians. The Athenians have a small amount of Thessalian cavalry on each flank. Now, each command only has one leader. The cav is not part of the hoplite command in this case. The way it's handled is you can activate them as kind of leaderless units using the momentum chit if you wish. That then deprives you of momentum for your hoplites. And I think this isn't terribly well described, but I think this is, no die roll necessary. It's an auto activation, but you're only getting 2 units to activate for. According to Thucydides, the Thessalians switched sides in the midst of the battle. And the way that's handled is if Sparta wishes, they can use their momentum chit to roll a die. They get 6, 7, 8, 9, 40% chance of the Thessalians coming over to their side. They count as hits against the Athenians when they do that. They don't add to the Spartan route total, and if they're casualties after that, they become Spartan casualties. But otherwise, the Spartans get to run them the same way the Athenians did. The Athenians will not get a chance to get them to switch sides again. Anything else exciting here? No, that's about it. So let's start. It'll be a really quick one. They've got it listed as 2 hours, whereas the other small ones were 2 to 3 hours. I find these games, these scenarios tend to go a little quicker than they're advertised at, maybe because I don't think much. But not a lot to do here. This is straight out rush the hoplites towards each other. Now, whoever gets the first move, in this case the Spartans, might have chosen not to launch the movement, but mainly because now I'm in range where the Athenians can probably get first strike. But I feel like that's what the scenario intends. So now one of the key things is, hey, who gets what draw? And what does it mean? And the Athenians get their momentum draw. Now, if I was clever, maybe I'd use my cav here. But I want to make sure I get my first strike with my... maybe I want to use the cav. Simply because I can get some attacks on the rear. Now, there are rules about light cav not being able to generate superiority, though. So that may not be appealing. I think my best move is to try to get that first strike. So that's what I'm going to do here. And let's see if I can get the initiative required. I needed 2 or less to get my momentum. And I get it. And I'll tell you what, Spartans are going to trump that because that is absolutely key. I needed 2 or less for the trump attempt. I do not get it, which means the Athenian momentum goes back in. And now, well, I've already declared who I was doing the momentum for. I wouldn't have to roll if I was doing it for the cav. So now we're going to launch the potentially successful attack by the Athenians. As the forces begin to crash together, I took care of this attack already, and you can see, some hits, but nobody's breaking yet or anywhere near it. This is one place I wanted to point something out. So this unit and this unit are going to both hit this one. Now, these don't count as double because there are hoplites and there are hoplite phalanxes involved on both sides. So I only get a +2 bonus for the size increase. And that's kind of one little thing to remember in the game, as opposed to, you know, why you can't just say, hey, double the number of units in a hoplite force, because that would give this a +4 bonus instead of a +2. Yeah. And there's the result after the first hit. You can see I've got engaged markers everywhere. I forgot. I got to roll for this guy. Those Spartans, if they roll a 6 or less, they recover a point and stay locked in combat. And they succeed, so they survive, and they don't have to make another roll for being within 1 at this point, although presumably they might have to on their next move. And we pull another chit and see what happens. Spartans can't trump in again, so, well, the Athenians could get 1 more initiative. But it looks pretty good for them right now in terms of the, you know, being able to hit with superiority in a couple places. Just numerical superiority gives them a couple of shifts on the table. So that's kind of cool. And the Cav changed sides on the Spartan momentum. It's not very useful, but does 11 hits to the Athenians, which seemed better than trying to bring some reserves into play on the main line. And we finish up the first turn with some more pushing. The Athenians had to move forward. Now, some of these guys actually should have an extra hit on them. This guy is one of them, just because they moved for a second time. And I believe this guy is another. Okay. We popped one Spartan ally here who had nowhere to retreat to. He only had 1 hex behind him. He can't interpenetrate the other hoplites. And we got a couple of routed units that have to come off the board too, so that's 12 Greek points. Oops. We took the 12 off for these, and these are another 12 as well. And you can see it's almost over. 1 more big unit, and Sparta's out of the game. It's going to take 2 for the Athenians. They're all Greeks. I said Greek at one point, to come out. Of course, not all the Spartan units have engaged yet, but we got, you know, some peeling off of units likely to happen. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. It's going to be a close one, and it's, you know, it's a 20-minute battle, not 2 hours. You never know in terms of how long it's going to take. But it looks like this is the final turn, simply because Sparta has had a unit routed. That's enough to drive them over the edge. It's still possible that Sparta could win. It's just unless there's a recovery. This was on the Athenian push. And really, you know, in normal Great Battles of History games like the SPQR and the Alexander, you get units engaged, they start deteriorating. Here they do, but they get to a point where maybe they don't deteriorate any further. They get locked into combat into those pushes. And that's a really interesting dynamic. And what really makes this one different from the rest is this kind of remaining engaged, weak, not really capable of doing anything else once they're done with the combat, but that combat doesn't get resolved quickly. And I kind of like how that works out. I actually don't know. I know that that's applicable to the hoplite combat. I question how much that kind of locked-in combat might actually apply more to some of the other eras, especially where you've got the phalanxes and such not. But I guess it depends on the forces that are facing each other. You got some weird situations where, you know, like here you've got 2 Athenians versus a Spartan, but there's a loose Spartan here who's going to peel one of those off on their attack. We've got the Cav, which could hunt down this routed unit. Oh, that's another point. The Athenians have a rout as well, so they're not far from being as bad off as the Spartans are. Let's pick another chit and Let's see what we got. We don't have a lot of chits in the cup in this one. It's going to be a Spartan Momentum. I could just use that to kill this off. That might be my best move at this point, rather than to push again, because I'm out of range to be able to rally that unit. I'm realizing in the last couple of battles, Plataya and Mikolai, I've been handling things wrong. Routed hoplites don't disappear. It's only the routed hoplite phalanxes. Now that's what's on the board on this one, so no biggie for this one. But I was removing hoplites too quickly from the other situation. I'm trying to see what the effects for routing is. TQ of 1, their movement allowance. So they're gonna take a cohesion hit right away. Well, likely for being attacked here. I'm also going to launch an attack on this, on the back of this infantry, in a hope of getting enough points to drive the Athenian route to my level. So yeah, this is gone. And we don't have a pursuit with light cav, but it basically takes no damage at all. And there's another 12. And now we have what may be a key attack here. Light cav hitting the hoplites. We don't worry about this. It's just neutral because of the positional. The light cav doesn't get the full positional, but we're still on crappy table 2, which is not good. Nobody checks TQ because these guys are already engaged in combat. I would have liked to hit this guy maybe, but force him to make a TQ check. He might route off that. Oh well. I probably could have managed it. But we'll see. 6, it's 4-2. I take 4. I'm not sure I can do 2 hits here. Damage might be halved or something like that as well. When it's the attacking type, have the cohesion hits affecting the defending force. So this goes to a 5. Now it still has to check that 5, and we're going to get an engaged marker off this. The 5, it has to be checked because we're at range 1. I'm sorry, within 1 of our failure mark. So we got some chance, and we don't. And that allows the hoplite to recover completely. That had really no effect whatsoever. And we'll put an engaged marker here. I don't think that breaks this engaged, simply because there's different formations. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on how that engaged stuff works. Better to fudge things than look them up constantly. You really have to look everything up in these rules. And they're not, like all the great battles of history, they're not terribly well presented. They're a bit of a mishmash and a mess. Now we have almost all the Spartans routing. This unit is Spartan, broke through here with an attack. But everywhere else we've got routing except here. These guys are still holding out against those aren't Spartan, those are Corinthian. Those are the good Corinthians, almost as good as the Spartans. I think we got 1 chip left, which is the Athenian Momentum, and they can put that in their pocket as far as I'm concerned. They don't have to actually take it. Because although the Athenians are losing 12 more points, and that'll put them under, Sparta's obviously losing more. So this battle is over, and as you can see, even my video coverage only took about 15 minutes of the whole thing. Like I said, if you sat down and played this, it would take about 20 minutes to do it straight. All right, let's send this one up.